Hello and welcome to this live stream. Thanks for joining me live. If you're joining me live, let me know in the comments that you're here. Just say hi, and if there's any problems with the stream quality or the audio, let me know and I'll try and fix it. But I did a live stream yesterday in Watercolour and everything was all good, so fingers crossed. So we're going to have a go at painting this seascape, and I shall talk you through it. So let's get started. So, what we got here? I've started the drawing. This is 25 centimeters by 30 centimeters on canvas, and it's toned the canvas with just a bit of burnt umber and white, just to get rid of the white paper, really. And I used a crayon to do the drawing here. So, probably can't see the drawing particularly well on the screen, but don't worry about that. So we've got, I'll show you this photo. This was a photo I printed out of Photoshop, so it was a good quality print. That, but I actually took a photo of this on my phone and then printed it out larger. And you can see, obviously, they've come out very different. But this is the image I've shared on Patreon. So I'll paint from this image, but if I turned either of these to a black and white, they would look the same. You know, that tonally, it's going to be the same. Colour, not that important. As long as we get the cool colours in the right place, and the warm colours in the right place. You know, colour's not that important. It's all about tonal value. So I'm going to have a go at mixing this blue, which I've got some phthalo blue here that I don't think the ultramarine blue will cut it for this. So a bit of cadmium yellow, some white, a bit more blue, and I need to go a little bit darker than that. But if you're a beginner, a good way to start, if you're not sure whether you've got the right tonal value or the right colour, this is a laminated photo, by the way, is physically put the paint on there. So it's too light. I will use a bit of ultramarine blue just to take it a little bit darker. And then you've got to ask yourself, you know, it's the right sort of tonal value, but it's too blue. It's more green, so a little bit more yellow. And do another little test, and that's pretty much perfect. I could go a little bit darker, just a little bit. That's spot on. It's as easy as that. So let's get some paint on here, otherwise you'll all be disappearing. So this area here is quite a sort of flat area, but there are lots of lighter tones, and there's kind of two tones I can see here. The tone I'm painting at the moment, and then there is a lighter tone as well. So what I will plan to do is work on this area first. You know, I'll try and make it as straightforward as I can for you. So if you decide to give it a go. So you'll notice with my brushwork, I'm moving around in all sorts of directions, and I haven't painted it too thick. You know, quite a thin layer here, because you know I will be going over it again. Reload that brush. So perhaps where I've left some of that underpainting to shine through, perhaps that's where I can put my lighter tones in. And it's quite solid along the bottom here. So it says we've got 9 people watching at the moment, so don't forget to say hi in the comments, and when I reach a break I shall say hi. So that's quite quick, that we've covered almost a quarter of the painting already. So I aim to do this within an hour, this painting, and get it looking fairly photorealistic, but you know, with some abstraction in the brushwork. So this lighter tone, I shall use a bit of that phthalo blue and just mix what I did before, but slightly lighter. And again, all I've got to do to test it is just put it on there. It's too green, a little bit of blue. Spot on. So I may well work on this area again, but I'll wait till I get the painting finished before I come back to this, because this is really the furthest thing away. Doesn't need a lot of detail. And these marks I'm putting on here probably hardly look any different in tone or colour to what I've just painted. But that is what it's like in the reference here. And if I was looking at it from life, you know, it's kind of got the mist in the air, and it's just a subtle change. But we tend to exaggerate things, and it would be very tempting to make it a lot darker or lighter, the differences between these tonal shifts. So, and I don't mind leaving a little bit of this underpainting to come through in places, but it's quite warm, and I want this area to be quite cool off in the distance. So, you know, I can always come back and get rid of some of that. So that's that area done. Just come closer to the screen so I can read the comments. So Sunjandith, sorry if I didn't say your name correct. No, this is not a homemade panel. This is just a bought canvas, and just a normal canvas, not an expensive canvas or anything. Just a normal canvas that has been gessoed and toned with a canvas here. In regards watercolor, water soluble paints, your question there. I've used them once before, and I thought they were very good. But I don't really have a use for them, so I'm quite happy to stick with oil-based paints. But certainly, if I couldn't use oil paints for whatever reason, I would use water-based ones, not a problem. So this area down here in the corner is a lot lighter, so just a bit of white there. So yeah, that phthalo blue really makes a cracking blue. But I would have struggled, I know, with ultramarine blue to get that. So this is kind of a fairly flat area here. That this is the same as this, but we've got some sea spray coming up over the top, you know, and we're not painting the sea spray. We're just painting what is there, that tonal value. And I keep it fairly thin here. So less texture in there, so you can pick and choose where you want your texture. That I definitely wanted a little more texture here, and I want more texture here. But here, just to help describe that mist, you know, I've just gone for just a flat area, and try that. So tonally, this is a little bit lighter than that. I can see that, so I can just do a little test. And I know that needs to go a little bit lighter. So I've added some white, but I think that's probably too light. So that's probably okay for the lighter parts, but for the darker parts, it's going to need to be a little bit darker than that. And the advice with phthalo blue or Windsor blue, anything like that, these real powerful colors, you know, just dip the brush, just a tiny amount on it, because it's so powerful, it'll just destroy all your colors if you get it in everywhere. So just go carefully with those colors, phthalo blue, and anything really powerful like that. So same as what I did here. I'm not going to blend at this stage. You know, I will probably do a little bit of blending at the end, maybe, but maybe not. So this is. I am blending, but not by scrubbing at it. I'm just painting into that shape I just put there, and just leave some of that texture, because if I blend it, I will lose all that, the effect I put there. So, and we've got these lighter parts here, which is what's going to make this painting. I can just do a little test. Yeah, we're okay there. So it probably would be a good idea to maybe get some of these lighter areas in. Maybe just put that white in there just to lighten it. Just do a little test, a little bit lighter than that. So I'm trying to create atmosphere here. you know, and it's all an illusion. You know, I'm not painting mist or anything like that. I'm literally painting the color and the tone that I see here. And from experience, you know, I know what tricks my mind plays on me when painting and so on. So I know if I think that's darker, you know, I can check it, you know, hold the brush up to it and check it, you know, or put the paint on there and just check it, make sure you're in the, you know, the right area. So let's have a go with these lighter parts here on the rocks here. So, you know, what color are those? Let's just go for mixing something like it. So it's definitely lighter. I think it's still staying with phthalo, but it's more towards green, maybe yellow ochre here. So the colours I've got on here are titanium white, cadmium yellow, pale, Lazarin crimson, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, ultramarine blue, there's a bit of cadmium red left over from a previous painting, and some of that phthalo blue. So let's do a little test. I think that's going to be too green, which it is. So it needs more blue. And perhaps a little bit less phthalo blue, just a bit of ultramarine blue. Again, just do a little test. So it's too dark, perhaps the right colour, but just a little bit on the dark side. So a little lighter again, and it still needs to go a little bit more towards blue. You know, in this sort of painting, I will try and get this colour perfect. You know, and using this method, you can. It's a little bit too green, so just a touch of blue. I think we'll go with that. Close enough. So we've got these rocks that are coming down here again. You know, this is where my mind would play a trick on me. I think, no, that's not light enough. It needs to be much lighter. And, you know, even a beginner would be reaching for the white paint. And that would cause a lot of issues. So that rock comes down here, and so I'll go back in with the darker tones in a moment. So I can just, and you don't have to follow your reference right down to that mark comes here. You know, I can just react to those rocks there and just do my best to try and replicate some of this, what's going on here. And, you know, we've got the opportunity to come back and, you know, check some areas and make any adjustments. You know, I find covering the canvas as quick as I can, you know, works the best, and then come back in and make adjustments if needed. So we've got that rock there as well. Let's put that in while we've got the light area in there. And, you know, you don't have to work top to bottom. You can come back in and, you know, work down here, then move about. Hello, Albie. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So back to this colour here, which is pretty good. Just need a bit more paint, that's all. So being able to mix your colours, you know, it means that if you haven't mixed enough, you know, you've got the confidence to go back in and mix these colours you need. You know, you haven't got to put the colours you've mixed in a little pot ready for the next day, because, you know, you won't be able to mix that colour again. You know, that's, you know, perfect. So just paint up to those lines. You know, where I'm sitting here, this looks awful, but I'm sure, you know, from a distance, it's looking good. And it's quite good actually when I come to edit these videos. You know, I think I get to see it how someone else would see it a little bit, maybe. That you know, we are our own worst critics when it comes to painting. That you know, we just don't see our artwork the same as everyone else. I think sometimes if you take a photo of it on perhaps your phone and look at it on a smaller screen, it does help you to see it perhaps a little bit different. So I will come back to this area because I will put in a little bit more of these sort of tonal differences, but it'd be better to judge that when I've got the rest of the painting in, because I could spend hours on this part here and overwork it and put too much detail in, which will actually have a negative effect. So that's fine there. So I shall have a nice, keep this brush separate for the white, which is here. So let's just do a little test. If you think, is that actually white? The best thing you can do is just hold your brush up to it, or physically put it on. So it's definitely not white. It's got maybe just a small touch of this light green I put in there just to take away that white. And white in paintings, very rarely in nature does white appear. Maybe the odd highlight or something. So need to paint thinly here because we're going to go over when we're painting these rocks in here. So what you don't want to do is have thick white paint here and then it just milks everything up. But I think it'd be good to get some of these lighter tones in, but I will probably be coming back with some more white at some point and put in here more detail in. And probably the white at the end, where I'm just going to lay that paint on nice and thick, will be the final bits of the painting. But instantly, as soon as we get some light areas in, it just makes these darker areas look darker. So it's fine. Let's get some of that green in. So I have a few brushes on the go. I always have a little bit of tissue in my hand as well, so I can just wipe the brush off, and I find that works quite well. Hello, Rob, or Robert, and Augustine, and welcome to the channel. New to the channel. It's great that this is a fairly new channel. That I've got a watercolor channel that's been going a while, and I did try oils on my watercolor channel, but to be fair, they are very different mediums, so I decided to keep them separate. So this kind of green here, that's way too dark. If I'd gone with that, painting's over. So you've got to really check your tonal values. And again, I'm using some phthalo blue here to get this, aqua color. Just that and the yellow. I'm going to need quite a bit. So there we go. So just painting shapes. Know what I see. I think we could do going a little bit lighter than that. And again, don't want to go too thick with it. So I find it's best if you don't, obviously here there's lots of abstraction going on here, but that's the best way to look at these things, is just abstract shapes and just suggest what's there. I'm not a very patient painter that to kind of put these little marks in as they appear. I just wouldn't have the patience for that, I'm afraid. So I will go for just an impression, which I guess if you're following my channel, you're probably thinking the same way. But, it's off to those artists painting photorealistic paintings, but not for me. But to be fair, I think sometimes paintings like this can have more of a realism look about them than if you've painted every rock on the beach. So that green becomes more powerful as it comes to the foreground, because there's less mist and stuff flying up. We can go a little bit darker here. And like I say, I'll be coming back over all of this, so just get the canvas covered, and then it'll get to a point where yeah, that's kind of looking good, and you're on the right track. I've started off with an accurate drawing. I used a proportional divider to make sure I've got everything in the right place. That a projector is another great way. If you're not keen on drawing, or if you don't want to spend the time drawing, you want to do the painting. It's always worth, when you have got time, to practice your drawing. It's very important. So let's get some rocks in. I'll save that brush for green. I've got a lot of brushes out here. I've got 15 brushes ready to go. They all sit in my oil well, so I haven't had to sit and clean them. So we'll have a go at this rock here off in the distance, which is probably very much similar tone to this, maybe just a little bit darker. So we know how to get to there with phthalo blue, yellow, and a touch of ultramarine blue. And some white. And the best way to learn how to mix colours is to paint. That's the only way you're going to do it, is practice. I could tell you how to mix colours, but how much you put in of this, how much you put in that, what paint's already on the brush, you just got to do it. So this is a lot lighter than you would think, this rock here, and it's things like this could catch you out, and it's a little bit of brown in there. That was a bit of burnt umber. Right, let's just check. It's a lot of fiddling about for just a tiny little rock, but again, little features like this will make or break the painting. So there's that rock. Distance, and it comes around here. I think it gets a little bit darker, so a bit of blue and brown. Just do a little test. And I'll save another brush for my darkest dark, which will be this rock here. So we'll start off with a black, which is just the blue and the brown, will give me a real dark. So I'm working quite methodically here, going from top to bottom, but that's entirely up to you how you work. So it's not actually as dark as black there, but so let's just use just a touch of white. You only need a very small amount of white and it'll milk this up. So still lighter than that. And you can go too dark. Like if you go too light, it's just as bad to go too dark. That if you end up with black there, it'll just throw all your values out. So it's more like that. So quite a long way away from black that was. It's actually deceived me a little bit there. So we've got someone else joining us here. Thanks for joining us live. So we've got quite a bit of paint here on the brush, more than I probably wanted, but nice crisp sharp edge along here. And I'll just paint this dark because I'll go over this with the little highlights and so on. So let's use some yellow ochre. And you don't have to follow your reference picture as is. As long as I've got the right tonal value, I can put in some different colours. So there's that rock here. So this is where it's going to be a bit tricky, this, because we've got white and almost black here. That we could end up with a mess. So just got to go at it fairly carefully. But that's why I didn't put too much white on the canvas to start with. So let's just take a little bit of that paint off that brush. So a little test there, that's okay. So we've got that rock there. So just paint that without any detail, and you can make things look further away by not putting detail in them. That there's not a lot of detail in here, but on here I'll perhaps have more detail, and that will give the appearance of things being closer to us. It's actually a rock there, but we don't have to paint all the rocks. So got another rock here, and as I'll move about on the canvas because you get fed up of painting rocks and think, right, let's have a go at painting something else. While I've got a lighter tone going here, let's just do a little test. More blue and a little bit lighter because it's further away. So it's good to have a little bit of understanding why things are lighter and darker. Things are a long way away, they tend to have more blue in them because of aerial perspective, all the particles in the atmosphere. And certainly on a day like this where the sea spray is blowing up, you're looking through all the water and so on. So these rocks off in the distance definitely have got less colour and saturation there. A little bit more yellow. It's tempting just to, that was close, but it was too dark just to go, oh, that'll do. But, you go down that path and then you kind of get the canvas covered and you can't see what's wrong. Something's not right, but it will be because, you put that wrong tonal value in, but you don't know or you don't notice it. So we can bring that up here and we've got, a sharp edge on that rock there, which is quite nice. Let's just do a little test. More blue and make it a little bit darker. I want that nice sharp edge there. Let's go for put a little bit of detail. I wasn't going to put detail off here in the background just yet, but why not? So there's a few darks in here. So this is just, reacting to what I'm seeing, just going with it. And it's tempting to blend all of that, but it'd be better to wait to the end. We've got these darks kind of creeping up here, and it's good to connect these darks up, throughout the painting. You kind of want to let the viewer's eye travel through the painting nice and easily. It's getting a little bit of texture in here. And so I'm filming this as well, so I shall probably make a video as well with some close-ups and so on. So, hello, Elizabeth. Thank you. So, more dark rocks here in the foreground. I think I've lost my rock there a little bit. But, let's just do a little test. Too brown. And that's all you've got to do when you're mixing colours. Just ask yourself, is it too blue, too yellow, too red? And, just add the colour that's needed. A nice crisp edge there. And a lot of getting, realism is looking after your edges, which are soft edges. I've got soft edges all along here, which makes it look further away. But here I've got a sharp edge, and here, so that brings everything forward a little bit. So we've got darker because these rocks are closer again. So let's bring that rock down here, and then we'll have a work on some of the sand. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap there because I'm going to put some of that spray up in between these rocks, which will separate those. I think I'll probably end up moving down a bit further, but it doesn't matter. Stronger rock there. Again, chance to put some see, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap here because you need to let the eye travel into the painting. That one acts as quite a nice little stop. That rock there stops the eye disappearing off the page. So let's leave that fairly flat along there. I'll keep that brush for my darks. So let's have a go with this sand colour here. So temptation is just to go for, some yellow. We know sand is yellow, but that's going to be way too orange. So just desaturate it, and it needs to be lighter. I've got plenty of paint out on my palette that you don't want to be running out of paint during your painting, because you end up just going with what you've got, and then you get into trouble. So it's just a grey, and that this grey will fit in with the painting. That if I went with a nice sand colour that we see on the beach, it just wouldn't fit with the painting. So I'm using directional brush marks here just to lay that paint on. And basically, I just want to get the canvas covered, as accurately as possible, and then I can come back in and put some detail. I can see, on the camera, my painting is steering more towards green a little bit, but that's fine. I'm not after making, an exact replica of this painting, of this photo. So we'll bring that one across there. So these lines are, quite good at, bringing us into the scene. Go to a slightly bigger brush for the sand area here. That I'll probably paint over these seagulls where I suggested where they are. That maybe I'll just suggest one or two of them. I think we're okay for ultramarine blue, probably for this sand color here, or the wet sand. So it's kind of a purpley blue. So I'm going to use these sort of horizontal marks, because I think that'll help to describe the sort of what I'm painting. And having a good combination of different brush marks. So I'll say maybe I'll change. So too dark. I might even just leave the seagulls off. You don't have to do it all the same. So I think they're quite good, particularly the one in the foreground there. So let's do a little test. It's lighter because it's further away, so it's a little bit less blue in there. So as I come up to this dark area here, just not mess about with it too much, because we don't want to end up with a mess. Just paint up into there, and I'm just painting shapes that I kind of see and trying not to blend. So easier said than done. Let's just do some big brush marks here. We don't need lots of detail here. So that's the canvas covered. So far, so good. And we're half an hour in, so hopefully the next half an hour we can bring it to a finish. So where to go now? Let's work on this area again for a moment. Let's just wipe off some of this. So let's just put in this light area coming across here. That's the one I was looking for. That there's a real light bit there where the light is catching that rock, and just one mark like that. That's all it needs. One there. And so there are some lighter bits on these rocks, and just painting these abstract shapes. I quite like this kind of minty colour. I'll go with that. Maybe steer it a little bit warmer at the top there. I can see it goes. Try that. Bit of red in there. That was alizarin crimson. And I'm just laying the paint on because there's a lot of wet paint here, so it can quickly become a muddy mess. So I think that's probably fine for the backdrop. So find my brush for the white. So let's just take a little bit of the white away. So we've got these flying up here, the water. So this is kind of where you bring in your artistic flair to just lay that brush in and just create this little flick of water splashing up on these rocks. Just roll that brush around and just try and think about what would be happening here. Just if you get some of the darker tones on there, just wipe it off. Going fairly carefully with this. So I got too much of that green on there. So, but I can just lay that paint on. Bit of spray going up there, and maybe use my finger. Brush on its side. And we've got some smaller waves here as the water's shallower. And now you could, with a scene like this, work at it in stages. Get it to a kind of a finished stage, and then you could come back in and work on it dry if you wanted to add more detail. But I tend to find once I've kind of finished, I tend not to want to go back and do any more on them. Just a little touch of white here and there, just to suggest that foam, and a bit of white in there. And then we've got as the water comes onto this area here. So you need to reload the brush up now. And just take away some of that white, but as I'm painting onto the paint here is wet, it will take away the white as soon as I add it onto the canvas. Just a few little touches, and I'll use these marks to perhaps lead the eye into the painting, create an S or something, or a Z. So let's have a break with the white before I get it everywhere. So maybe let's put a little bit of detail on these rocks. So I can see a little bit of green on the top of that one. So as we're kind of now, we've done the first pass, as I call it, we're now going over the sort of the second lot. So thick paint. These are going to be the final marks. A bit of green on there would be quite nice. Lighten that. And again, just do a little test. Just lay that paint on there. This is just going to suggest some of the light hitting these rocks. And just some lighter tones, different colors. Just careful not to blend or go too mad with it, because you get white into it, it gets everywhere, and then we'll lose our darks, which we don't want to do. My brush with the dark mix on it, I think. Here. So if I want to paint into there, just to make a little bit less of that, just lay that paint over the top. And just get some of the dark areas back. But all this stuff is, mixing on the panel, on the canvas here. It's all adds to it. There. Do with going a little bit lighter here. So you can follow your reference picture to a certain degree, and then you can then make decisions. Would it improve it if I made it a little bit lighter along here? So I'll just try that to add a little bit more contrast. But I'm not going crazy lighter, just a touch. And I can see where the sound is coming through the reflection. So obviously the blue part is the sky that's being reflected on the wet sand. So underneath that is the sand. So we can use our imagination a little bit and put some more of that in. Maybe go a little bit stronger in the foreground here. So I've got the all the brush marks kind of going this way, which I think's worked okay. And let's just sharpen that edge up there a little bit. Oil paint's great because you can move things about as you need to. So let's throw some white, some thick lighter paint on for these for the wash here. Just got to go for it. A little bit of that mint colour. So I'm using a softer brush. This is actually a watercolor brush that's lost its point, but it will work to just lay that paint on. I was just going to roll it and just lay the paint onto the canvas there. And that's actually working quite well to create a little bit of texture that could be the waves maybe. And across here. And I'm not looking for leaving sort of too much paint on there, but just create a little bit of texture. And I'll use these edges to make things look sharper where I want them to. You just got to be so careful because it will soon just get milked up if I get it everywhere. Kind of looking okay. And I could do with that sharp edge there. Paint on. There's any way to do it there. So, okay with that. So let's perhaps have a go with maybe one of these seagulls. Break from the seascape. So start with this one here. I'll start with that. So we'll put his head there. And his body comes over here. I need a smaller brush, maybe for detailed stuff. So there's a dark, I can see under here. So we've kind of got his shoulder curves over here. And probably need to paint one or two of these with a bit of detail, and then the rest can be done just suggested. So it's darker over this side, which lets us know the sunlight is coming in from this way. And you can see a little bit of warmth underneath here, which is perhaps bounced light from the sand. So always highlight out there, so nice strong paint. There's a little bit of light there. Made him a little more plump. A well-fed seagull. I can maybe sort the shape out a little bit there. And it'll be the legs and perhaps a little shadow underneath will anchor him to the ground. Shadow there. I can use this small brush, just flatten it a little bit. We've got a leg there, a leg there. A little bit of a reflection there. So we'll put a couple more in. We've got the darks. I'll do the darks while I've got the dark paint on here. So a couple there. Another one there. I don't think I'm going to paint all of these. So maybe one there. It's a bit big, that one, so let's make that into two. Three. That's a gang. So let's put their feet down. And you'll find that just adding these final bits of detail will kind of bring the painting to a finish automatically. That all that sort of painting of the background and the waves and so on could just be the lead up to these final little touches, really. Let's put in some of these darker areas in the sand, and then I'll put the highlights on these other seagulls. So I've got a flat brush here, which is a synthetic, so slightly softer, so the paint should leave the brush a bit easier. We've got a dark coming across here, which will connect these birds as well. Bring that across there. So again, I've got to just lay the paint on without fussing too much. And there's a dark in here. So this is perhaps the reflection of the rocks above. And again, they're great tools to lead us into the painting, these sort of horizontal lines. I'm going to put some smaller ones here as well. So maybe just a few little sparkles of water while we're putting these detailed bits in. So on my Patreon page, if you want to join Patreon, I've got all of my demos on there. That no, not all of my demos are on YouTube. But, so take a look on there, and as I say, it's a new Patreon page as well. So as it grows, I will perhaps add a workshop tier, so we can get together on Zoom and perhaps do some painting together, and also you can then ask me questions and so on. So, there's 3 there, and you don't need to paint detailed portraits of seagulls. It's just a suggestion is all you need, really. But particularly these ones off in the distance, that the ones closer, we can have a bit of detail, but just get that some darks in there. Suggest that's it. And could have some of these ones flying off in the distance. One. Adds that little bit of movement. So I'm into the kind of fiddly bits of detail now, where I can kind of just see a few little highlights on the shore. But let's say this is probably about as fiddly as I get. This little bits of sparkle on the water. And if I could do that with a bit of a, in watercolour, I would just drag the brush across and create a little bit of dry brush. But you do have to work slightly different in oils to watercolour. Both great mediums. Some lighter areas in here, and we can suggest that wave, coming through here. So edges, we need to take care of any edges that we want to be, hard edges and soft edges to create that sort of realism. So sort out some of these hard edges, because I did have a hard edge there, but I've lost that, and that just happens as you're painting. So I can firm that edge up a little bit. So, nice sharp edge there. And let's maybe put some brown. See some brown in there. It's actually a little bit lighter on the top there, and try and make it look a little bit more realistic. So, we can get a little bit of texture on these rocks. So I do kind of work in one area, then I'll come back and have another go, and if it didn't quite work the first time, and maybe less detail here. The brown is working quite well. We're steering it more towards brown and giving it a bit of colour. We know we've got some orangey colours in here, so maybe the brown is working in harmony with that. So, sharp edge there. But still got to be making sure our tonal values are good. Another rock there. So I could just take care of any shapes that I've lost. Just define them a little bit more. That this wave coming across here was quite good, but I lost that a little bit. Aqua colour up in the distance there. It gets to a point where you just got to stop sometimes. So I think could do with a little bit of that foam from the sea coming into here. But let's just take away some of the white. It's not white. So just drag the brush across there maybe. Try that. Quite well. Sometimes I just try different things. Push it that way. I think just a few little highlights on this rock down here. A bit of red. Up. Just a little bit of on that rock. So hopefully you enjoyed this demo. If you decide to give it a go, good luck. But I've got some demos planned for this weekend. I'll be doing oils most this weekend coming. So particularly, if you want to say join Patreon, you're welcome to share ideas and let me know what you want me to paint. But I'm going to be doing an Australian scene for one of our patrons. Shared a picture, so we'll have a go at that. So I think we'll leave it at that, and I'd probably kind of get to this sort of switch to the other camera. Yeah, just me. So let's move that out of the way now. Oh, trying to do this one-handed. So I kind of get to that sort of stage where it's kind of the canvas is covered, and then I'll leave it for a couple of days and then have a look. Do I need to do anything to it? That quite often I'll just leave it as it is. So thanks for all your comments, and thanks for watching live. If you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments what you think, and I shall see you on the next demo. I shall leave you with the painting. So see you soon.